if you're able to just make sure that they have a estimate that is reasonable and consistent with what their current spending is and where they've kind of budgeted, that's very helpful, because if this is off, that usually ends up where they end up with like over or under reporting of expenses, and then they get into trouble with excessive carryover. The last thing that would be helpful to check is at the bottom here, it has the summary of expenditure. So what they're planning on spending the money on, and then what they'll end up with carryover at the end. If this says 0, they're missing the expenditures in their plan. This one actually auto sums as they add in and categorize their expenditures. It will add up to what they're planning on spending, and it'll deduct it from their carryover here. So that's one way to just really easily see if they're missing something in their plan. And it's something that is often missed. And so if your principals need it, we send them this guide for how to enter expenditures. But if they reach out to you for a question, that guide's available here for you too. And then the last little bit for review criteria, if you can catch it as you're going on, as you're reading these plans, we don't like acronyms that aren't defined. This program is intended to be very public. It has a lot of people involved that are not educators. In fact, our primary council members are parents with a parent majority. And so having acronyms defined in the plan is really helpful if they can. Of course, just like anything, no identifying student data should be in these reports because they become public. And so just making sure they haven't listed any student names or any other type of sensitive data. And then very helpful if you catch a spelling error. It sounds silly, but if you could send it back to them to just quickly fix, that's really helpful too, because these become public reports and we do get a lot of views on them from the communities, from legislators, from everyone involved. So just making sure that they're nice and clean. And then here is, this is more of a reference slide for you to have once we share this presentation too. This is just the actual steps you take in order to be able to review the plan. So making sure you're carefully reading through it. There's a comment section at the bottom. That comment section is intended strictly for the review process. So there should be no plan information in it. The only thing that you'd put in there is if you're sending it back for something, you do need to list a comment in saying what you're sending it back for. That is in law. And just know that these comments are not public when the report is published, but they are permanently stored with the report. So I've been guilty of this myself, but I've put something in a comment that was like misspelled or just crazy. And it cannot be deleted even on our end. So just know that those will be permanently stored with the report once you enter them. And then to make a decision, this just kind of walks you through the buttons that you are going to select. So if you're going to send a plan back, you're going to select needs, edits, and finalize, and then notify the principal that the edits are in there and have them go back to the review process. If you're going to approve it, it's going to pop up a date for you to enter. And what that date is the date that their governing board approved the plan. So remember that takes place outside of our system. So you're going to want to have that handy when you're approving them. Otherwise, you're going to have to reach out to the principal. And we've been trying to train the principals to have that sent to you when they tell you that the plan's ready for review. So just please send your next reviewer the date that the governing board approved. And so hopefully you'll see those coming from them when they're notifying you that they're ready. And then once you are done, if you can, email School Land Trust to notify us that the report is ready for review. That gets you into the queue quicker. Otherwise, we do pull a weekly query to where we can get everyone queued for our review. So that can just help you get in there a little bit sooner. And the last thing I have for you today is you should have received a copy of the distribution and school allocations for each charter. I sent it out in January and then again on March 1st once those were solidified. Please just remember that schools cannot share funds. And when you upload the amounts, I know for a while, depending on what software you're using, I was getting reports that when you upload it, it actually changes your allocations, which I'm sure is super frustrating. Please just know that you have to use the exact allocations that that we have sent. So don't let whatever software program you're using reallocate it based on enrollment, because that's already been done on our end. And then this is just a recommendation. If you can use exact dollars and cents when working with SLT records, it will ensure that your records are an exact match to ours. If you have anything that needs to be changed, just let us know. And then lastly, just know that these budget numbers and prior carryover by school excuse me, the prior year carryover plus the current year are readily available to you when you report the expenditures, so that you don't over-report any type of school land trust spending for any school. Oh, the very last slide I have has a guide to reviewing a plan or amendment, as well as what a principal sees when they're entering a plan, because I know you get lots of questions about that. And so those are available resources for you after this too. And that is all I have. Thank you, guys. Do you have any questions? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much for bearing with me and allowing me to go through the wrong presentation with you at the beginning. I appreciate your kindness.
Thank you, Carrie. We always
Thank
appreciate
you.
you here.
Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, so up next is going to be Smriti to call from the State Charter School Board office. She is going to be presenting on best practices to avoid budget-related findings when you're being audited. So go ahead, Smriti, you should be able to share.
Okay, sounds good. Let me try sharing my. Can you you can only see my. I think I shared the wrong slide there. Can you see my slide, Lisa?
Yeah, so we see the presenter view of it.
The presenter view, right? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
How do I? I'm just trying to see how can I switch it to.
You know, if you stop sharing
Uh-huh.
and then queue up the slideshow, then you should be able to depict the screen that shows the slideshow. If you go to share again.
Go to share again. Okay. I think I'm on screen too. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Yeah, hi everyone. Smriti Takal here, Financial Audit Manager with the State Charter School Board. And today I'm here to present about best practices to avoid budget-related findings for charter schools. And why is it not letting me? Okay, so in the next slide here, I have some examples of what causes budget-related findings. And, you know, some of the examples are inadequate documentation, which is missing or, you know, incomplete documentation for financial transactions, which makes it difficult to verify expenses and revenues. And another point is internal control weaknesses, because lack of strong internal controls, such as segregation of duties, can lead to errors or fraud. And another example would be non-compliance with policies, because failure to follow established policies, procedures, including procurement failure to follow established financial policies and procedures, including procurement and expense approval processes. So if we do not comply with, such policies, you end up having budget-related findings. And then moving on, another point is inaccurate financial reporting, because, that is like errors in financial statements, such as misclassified expenses or incorrect balances. And again, cash flow problems, because poor cash flow management can lead to difficulties in meeting financial obligations on time. And another example would be unreconciled accounts, because failure to regularly reconcile bank statements and other accounts can result in discrepancies as well. And another point is outdated financial policies and procedure manuals. So as schools, grow, their financial policies and procedures may become outdated. So regularly updating these manuals to reflect current practices and needs is crucial. And last but not the least, budget overruns, expenditures exceeding the budgeted amounts. This is where we see a lot of budget-related findings for the charter schools that we authorize. And moving on to the next slide. So the state compliance audit guide issued by the Office of the State Auditor, has a section on budgetary compliance that notes that the auditor, as part of the audit procedure, examine and alias records and financial reports and determine that the total expenditure by fund or department did not exceed the amounts appropriated in the final adopted budget. Okay. And moving on to the next slide, talking about importance of proper budgeting. Proper budgeting provides financial stability, because a well-managed, well-planned, budget ensures that the school can meet its financial obligations, such as paying salaries, maintaining facilities, and purchasing necessary supplies. It helps with resource allocation. It helps in allocating resources efficiently, ensuring that funds are directed towards priority areas like instructional materials, student programs, and staff development. And also helps with compliance and accountability, because proper budgeting ensures compliance with state and federal regulations and provides transparency and accountability to stakeholders, including parents, staff, and funding bodies. And also helps with planning and forecasting, as a detailed budget allows for better planning and forecasting, helping the schools anticipate future financial needs and challenges, and helps with avoiding deficits. By regularly monitoring and updating the budget, schools can avoid deficits and financial crisis, ensuring long-term sustainability. And lastly, it helps with supporting educational goals, because a well-managed budget supports the school's educational goals by ensuring that there are sufficient funds for academic programs, extracurricular activities, and student support services. Moving on to the last slide. So, here we have some tips for you guys to be successful at budgeting. And the first one is understanding the requirements. That is getting yourself familiar with the specific financial reporting requirements and standards set by the relevant authorities, and a regular training, ensuring that the staff involved in the budget management receive regular training on financial policies, procedures, and the best practices. And then internal controls, basically implementing strong internal controls to monitor and manage financial activities. This includes checks and balances and clear documentation of all financial transactions. And transparent reporting, maintain transparency in financial reporting, ensure that all financial statements are accurate, complete, and submitted on time. And then stakeholder involvement, engaging stakeholders, including board members in the budgeting process. The code 53G-7-309 talks about presenting monthly budgeting reports in the board, to all the board members, so they are involved in the budgeting process, on a regular basis. And their input can provide valuable insights and help ensure that the budget aligns with the school's goals and priorities. use of technology, utilize financial management software to streamline budgeting processes, track expenditures, and generate reports. This can help in maintaining accuracy and efficiency. And lastly, budget monitoring, continuously monitoring the budget throughout the fiscal year, comparing actual expenditures against the budgeted amounts, and making adjustments as necessary. So just to close my presentation, as this year is about to end, the school year is about to end in a couple of months, take a look at your budget. And if you think you're going to exceed it, you need to make those amendments in order to avoid budgetary related findings, that we see very often with, schools' audited financial statements. So yeah, that's all I had for today. It's a short presentation, but happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Don't see anyone typing, so I think we're good. Thank you, Smriti. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. All right, so the last thing we're going to talk to you about today is green funding. So let me get my screen queued up and shared. All right, so Smriti, do you see my screen?
Yes, I do, Lisa.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, so this part of my part of the presentation, I just want you to know, this is all based on a conference that I went to back in October, where they had a session on green funding. And one of the things that they recommended was that we push this out to our schools and let them know that these funds are available. So that's basically what this is for, is just awareness. And there's a lot more information that's going to be in my slides today on specific items of green funding that I will share with you when I share the slides and the recordings. But I just want you to know, this is basically just for informational purposes. I don't have a lot of knowledge on this, but I wanted to make sure you guys were aware these funds are out there and available. Okay, so this should go pretty fast. So one of the things they presented at this conference was they were talking about the benefits of green buildings. And they said that there is research out there that shows that green buildings actually contribute to student and community well-being and health. They lower student absenteeism. They're safer and more environmentally resilient, and they also obviously can also help reduce your operating costs. There were basically 3 types of green building projects that they talked about at the conference. One of them was building efficiency, which is basically steps to lower your energy use. And this could be as easy as switching your light bulbs to LED light bulbs. It could be sealing your building, things like that. The second type was renewable energy, which is incorporating systems that generate energy you use. This could be solar panels. And then the next one was electrification, which is changing out old fossil fuel-based systems for electric systems. And one of the things that they mentioned here was replacing a gas burner kind of system with mini split heat pumps. I actually had to look up what a mini split heat pump is, but it's actually like something that hangs on your wall, and you have climate control or environmental controls of heat and AC right there for the room that you're in. I've actually taught Sunday school in a room that had one of these. It was the greatest thing ever, but that's just an example of something that you could do. Most of the funding that we're going to talk about comes from the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. This was signed into law back in August 16th of 2022. It included tax incentives, grants, and also loans. These are some of the federal funding programs that are out there. The first one comes from the U.S. Treasury, or the IRS. And it's basically tax credits. And if you're thinking, you know, tax credits, I am a nonprofit organization, I don't pay taxes. That's okay, because they have something called elective pay, which is basically you get a check back at your organization from the government that would be what you would receive in a tax credit if you were a tax paying organization. Then the Department of Energy, they also have some of these programs that they run. One of them is the Renew America's Schools. This one was actually started when it first came into place. It was $500 million that was allocated to the program. It's been in place for a couple of years, so there's only about $127,000 left in this program, or not 127,000, 127 million left in this program, and it's expected that the final round of sending out these funds is going to be in 2025. There is a link on there. If you click on that link, it'll take you to a page where you can actually put in a email address to keep you updated on what's going on in the program. Like I said, right now it's closed, but they are expecting there'll be another round in 2025. And then the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA, they have something called Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities. And this is basically my understanding of it is it's to help you like get your buildings ready for if there were natural disasters. So I think about in Utah, when I think natural disaster, I think of earthquake. So it would be something like where they would help get your building kind of more, so it would be more resilient in case there were an earthquake that would happen, and that would help mitigate the damages to your school if that did occur. So something like that is what that would be for. And then the Environmental Protection Agency also has programs. There's the greenhouse gas reduction grants, climate pollution reduction grants, and then there was the clean school bus rebate program. I think that one's closed, but you probably all had heard about that and had an opportunity to be a part of that if you wanted to. When USBE was doing their finance trainings, they had mentioned that those were available. All right, so I'm gonna finish up. Like I said, it's a really quick presentation. So where to start? If you know that you want to engage in some of these green programs and you just don't know what to do and you don't have time to go look at what's out there, there are experts out there that their job is actually to help you with this. There are organizations for this. One of the presenters was actually an employee of one of these organizations, and I could share that information with you if you'd like. We don't endorse this organization, but we don't really have any opinion on it. It's just one that I know of because they were one of the presenters. And like I said, if you want, I'd be happy to share that too if you ask. You can also get an energy audit. I know utility companies, one of my utility companies is always offering these up. So if this is something you want to do just to find out where you might be able to go a little more green and see what you can do for your school, that would be a good place to start. Check out your utility companies or go to the local Department of Energy and see what they recommend for getting an energy audit for your school. You also want to define your goals. Do you really want to go green? Is this something that you want to do? So probably even before you start engaging with these people, you want to know what you want for your school. So something you can engage your leadership in talking about now that you know these funds are available. Maybe you can look into them and see if there's anything you want to take advantage of. You can also research local incentives. Like I said, the ones we were talking about were basically the federal ones, but utilities often have rebate programs that you can look into. There are utility rates for solar. I know we just got solar on our house last year, and the utility cost actually, the utility rates for what we used went down, but there's still a cost even if you do get solar panels. Just know there's still a cost for your metering and stuff. So it doesn't completely go away. It just kind of helps with the actual usage. There are also local and sustainability offices. I didn't even know these existed until I saw this presentation. Just for fun, I looked up Salt Lake City to see if they had one, and there's actually something called SLC Green. Could go there if you're in Salt Lake City, or just look up for your particular cities what might be available and see if they have anything that they're offering as incentives for going green. And then you can also estimate your roof solar capacity. This project sunroof was something that a link that they shared at the presentation I saw at the conference, and I went there really quick. It looks like you basically just put in your address for your school, and then it helps you to determine how much capacity you have on the roof of your school for solar. One more thing that I want to say, because this is really the end of my presentation, like I said, really short, but a lot of these incentives and things that are out there, they are meant to help mitigate some of the cost. They generally will not fund your whole project. And that's just something to keep in mind as you're looking at what you want to do, or if you want to do some of these incorporate some of these green projects into your school. And especially if you're like you're looking at building a new school or renovating your school, that may be something that you want to think about. But again, like I said, if you're just thinking about it to do it with funds that are available, just know there's going to be a cost to the school of it. More than likely, it's not going to cover the entire project. And like I said, there's more information on the specifics of these programs that I will share with you when I share the slides. But like I said, this is just to make you aware of what's out there. So before we leave for today, I just wanted to talk to you about the next couple of months and what's happening. The USBE has their fall finance training on May 5th. And because of that, we're going to go ahead and cancel our April meeting, just kind of to give you an incentive to go to that one and attend it, because there's always a lot of really good information on that. If you haven't heard about it yet, Norley Green did send out an email on it on February 10th. So if you want to look for that email to see the details on that, you can do that. Or if you just want to ask me, I will go ahead and forward that email to you if you need it. And then on May 29th, USBE, the finance team at USBE is going to join us, and they are going to talk about the indirect cost rate. I had asked if any of you were interested in, and several of you said that, yeah, you'd like to hear about it a little bit. And so they're going to do that then, and then we'll take our normal break for the end of the year, and we should start back up in August. I would love it if you guys have any ideas for presentations that you would like to hear. I would love it if you would share those with me. Just send me an email. That would be great. Otherwise, I'm done for today. I thank you all for attending, and we'll see you next time. I hope you have a great month. Bye-bye.